Welcome to the first edition for 2024 of the LL Spring Sports Roundtable. We've got a couple of weeks off. Hoops is in the rearview mirror. We're going to give you a little bit of a survey of what has been a rain-soaked spring sports season so far. The show is brought to you by Substitute Teacher Service. Thanks to them for hopping on board as a sponsor. My name is Mike Gross, and I'll host. Jason Guarendi is alongside, as is the familiar Rhines. And let's start with the one sport that is spring sport that's played indoors and therefore has been able to play some games.
Yes, boys volleyball has started. Are you down off your basketball high yet?
Yes.
I was at an all-star game last night.
Oh, that's right.
It feels like basketball still
I had the girls' all-star game
Still
next week.
jonesing for the hoops.
But we move forward here. Spring
We do.
sports have started, and I know it's rainy out, and I have the nice and cushy indoor warm beat boys volleyball. Good stuff here in volleyball. There's a lot happening already. 2 weeks of league play here in the books. Let's start section one. Hempfield missed the league playoffs for the first time ever last year. Haven't won a section title in 3 years, and here are the Black Knights at 3-0 here midweek. They're alone in first place because Warwick lost to Cedar Crest last Thursday. Cedar Crest goes into Warwick, beats the Warriors 3-0 on their home court. I thought, Crest, here we go. Statement win. Look out. Here come the Falcons. Tuesday night, at home, Cedar Crest falls to Penn Manor 3-0. So here's Penn Manor. Wow. But they're still all chasing Hempfield. The new state rankings came out here early in the week, and Hempfield is at number 10 in the AAA state rankings, PVCA. Warwick 2-1, Crest 1-1, Township 1-1. Blue Streaks are playing well here early on. Look out for them. And Penn Manor 1-1. But already a couple of facelifts in Section 1 volleyball, with Crest beating Warwick and then Penn Manor beating Crest. So there's a lot going on in Section 1. Okay, Section 2. It's Manheim Central's world right now in LL volleyball, and we're all just kind of living in it. The Barons are loaded. They have all their starters back from last year. They won the league title last spring, their first league championship in the LL for the Barons, and they're off to a great start. They went deep in the North Allegheny tournament. They're 3-0 out of the gates here in section play. They're number 2 ranked in the state. They're really good, so everybody's kind of chasing the Barons. There's already been a couple of fun things happen. Lancaster Mennonite beat Garden Spot in the section opener. That was big. Tuesday night, E-Town beat Ephrata 3-2. Great match. I got to see that. Ephrata had been tied for first with Manheim Central, but E-Town beats the Mounts 3-2 on Tuesday night. So a lot going on. It's very early, but Hempfield and Manheim Central are setting the pace right now in section play. LL volleyball.
Boom. All right. Jason, what do you got on track now?
Track and field. Not much happens till the invitationals kick off, which they pick up in earnest this weekend. Bruce Dallas is at Cumberland Valley, that invitational. And then the Black Knight Invitational at Hempfield is April 13th. That's where almost all of the LL's best athletes will be.
Right.
Last season was one of a kind. We had 5 state champions from the LL, 4 girls, all in AAA. All different schools, all different disciplines. It's one of a kind. It will probably never quite happen in that way again. One of those state champs is back, Cadell Howard of Cedar Crest, who is already one of the greatest runners in LL history. I mean, she's the league record holder in the 200 and the 400. She's a state champ in the 400.
Wow.
And she's a sophomore. She did all that as a freshman. So she's the number 1 girl to watch. I mean, her times are already so extraordinary. It's hard to imagine where they can even go at this point. I mean, she's one of the best runners in the nation. The other top returning girl is Isabella Schertzer at McCaskey, who runs the 800. She's trying to be a 4-time league champion in one event, which is very unusual. It's hard to sustain that. She's a big favorite. If she stays healthy, doesn't have any injuries, she should repeat. She was on that McCaskey 1600 relay team last season that was one of the best in the nation. She's the only returner from that team. On the boys' side, Nick Keller, the Ephrata sprinter, is he won the 100, 200, and 400 at the league championships. Unusual to sweep all three. Usually you win the 1 and the 2, maybe the 2 and the 4, but not all three.
Wow.
And he did that as a sophomore, which for on the boys' side is really unheard of. So it'll be interesting to see if he could do that again, if he wants to run all three again, what times he can post. He already has one of the best 400 times in league history, something like top 5. And also in the boys, Colin Whitaker of Lampeter Strasbourg. He's the league record holder in the 3200 at 9 minutes, just about 9 minutes flat. No one's ever gone under 9 minutes. If he does that, he'll be the first of his kind. Pennsylvania distance runners are incredible. So even if he sets the league record by 10 seconds, he might not win the state championship.
Wow.
But he's one of the all-time greats in the LL for sure.
Okay, let's talk a little softball. Let me give you an idea how it's going. Northern Lebanon, who has won 2 straight section titles, one in Section 3 and another because of realignment in Section 4, has not played a game yet.
Really?
Because of the rain. Yeah, that's really the big story, but I'm going to try to give you a little bit of some teams that have played enough that it's a little noteworthy. Section 1, Hempfield and Warwick shared the section title last year, and they have a ton coming back, so they should be very good. But the story in Section 1 so far has been Penn Manor, which took a little bit of a step back last year after having some really great offensive teams. They're 4-0, run differential 50-4.
Ouch.
And they seem to have found a pitcher, a kid named Julie Beaumaster, so they're going to be in the middle of that race, I think. Section 2, shout out to Larry Minnie, who is the coach at Conestoga Valley, who is back after a 3-year bout with cancer. That's really pretty cool. Ephrata, undefeated so far, only 2 games. They have a lot of veteran kids, and they have a pitcher. I think they're going to be pretty good. LS started very slow last year. You may remember traditional power LS, and ended up winning the district championship. Well, they're 0-3 this year, so they're right where they they're right where they want to be. They're right where they want to be. In that section, Solanco last year was terrific. They were 14-1. Their coach, Brett Miller, out after 34 years. Wow. And the new guy is an assistant of his named Jason McClone. Yeah, and they're off to a 2-1 start. They're going to be fine. The power in Section 3 is Donegal. They're an overwhelming favorite coming in. They did lose a very good pitcher, a kid named Kara Biesiker. But 3-0, run differential 55-7. That's not bad. That's okay. That's okay. Elko is off to a 3-0 start in Section 2. In Section 4, we told you about Northern Lebanon. They are still the favorite, although they did lose their pitcher, a kid named Hope Ritchie. I think they're the favorite in Section 4. Amber Wanger is the new coach at Anvil Clayona. Their fifth head coach in 7 years.
Wow, turnover.
And I think they might be the team that can challenge in Northern Lebanon. But again, so much rain. The rain is, the postponements are piling up. That's where we kind of are in softball.
Yes.
All right. Right.
Tennis,
man.
anyone. Boys tennis. Okay, as mentioned, a lot of rain, so a lot of these are getting postponed. But tennis started first. They always start early.
Yeah,
so there's teams have actually played some matches here. 3 sections in tennis. Let's start at the top. Section 1. Cooper Lehman is back from Hempfield. He kind of got overshadowed a bit by that Abadir kid at Country Day the last couple of years. But Cooper Lehman's won 2 straight LL titles, 2 straight district titles. I think he finished 4th in the state last year. So Cooper Lehman's back in Hempfield. I think we'll be hearing his name a lot here. Okay, so Cooper Lehman and Hempfield off to a good start. They're 2-0, tied with Cedar Crest 2-0. Hempfield's played a lot of matches. They're 7-0 here, so they played a lot of non-league ones. Circle it, Cedar Crest at Hempfield, April 15th. Section 2, not a lot of matches here. LS and Cocalico out front. Pioneers 2-0, Cocalico 1-0 in section play. April 17th, LS at Cocalico. Section 3, Country Day again. Don't forget, they won the team title in states last year. They lose Abadir. I think they lost Bloom. Michael Georgelis is back. Carson Weigel's back. Country Day's off to a 3-0 start. They sit atop the section. Anvil's 1-0, Mennonites 1-0. 2 dates to circle. April 11th, Mennonite at Country Day. April 17th, which I think is the last day of section play, believe it or not. Anvil at Country Day. But the Cougars here out front, they're 5-0 overall, so they played a couple of non-leaguers. Keep an eye on George Ellis, keep an eye on Weigel. We'll see if Country Day can get back and defend their state team title. So far, so good. They're 3-0. Tennis.
Let's lax, my man.
Boys lacrosse, Manheim Township, defending champ,
Yeah.
league champ, and District 3 3A champ, went undefeated all the way into the states. Powerhouse every year. They have their leading scorer back, Bennett Palmer, University of Delaware recruit, so they should be right there again. Maybe Penn Manor challenges in Section 1, maybe Hempfield. Hempfield has Jason Hilton, who's another one of the league's best scorers. In Section 2, it appears to be LS and Cocalico, which played in the District 3 2A final last season and played last night, and LS won that game 7-6, so there's not much separation there, very close.
Okay.
On the girls' side, it's always Manheim Township. Manheim Township has won 13 consecutive league championships,
crazy.
which is insane. And when you look at their results in league play early, it's just no competition. Doesn't look like anyone in Section 1 is going to push them. Section 2, it's LS and Cocalico, just like it is on the boys' side. The girls played on Tuesday night, and Cocalico's girls won that, again, 12-11. So we're talking about very small difference between those two teams if they're the two to fight it out in Section 2.
Okay. Let's talk a little baseball. The problems with rain that I mentioned earlier in softball are, if anything, worse in baseball, especially because they have to manage pitch counts and arms and all that. So that's going to be a big issue going forward. To illustrate that a little bit, on Monday, Manheim Township was supposed to play at home against Manheim Central. Manheim Central is one of the two teams in the league that has artificial turf. So Township agreed to play at Central, give them a home game, because it was only their second game of the year and they hadn't played for 2 weeks. Sheesh. I mean, that's kind of what's going on here. But anyway, let's start with Section 1. Hempfield seems to be the favorite, at least according to the other coaches. They're off to a 3-1 start. They lost to Governor Mifflin. They have a pitcher named Logan Harrelson, who is a South Florida recruit, Division I South Florida, and he was dominant in his both of his outings so far. 2-0 with 16 strikeouts. And they also have the catcher. I love the catchers, Josh Toole, who has been a veteran guy. Seems like he's been in high school for 8 years. He's still only a junior.
Oh my.
I don't know. Penn Manor in Section 1 has two pitchers. A kid named Bryce Avery, who's going to Millersville, and Millersville, as we know, is not a regular Division II program. And another kid named Brady Eckert, who is also going to pitch in college. And they're off to a 3-1 start. A little bit of a surprise, Cedar Crest 3-0. And pretty impressively, and they have a kid named Dylan Fegley, who was Northern Lebanon's #1 pitcher last year and transferred to Cedar Crest. And Northern Lebanon was a state tournament team last year. And Warwick and Township are going to be good too. This section's going to be pretty deep. Warwick is 2-1, but they beat Ephrata. Township is a kid named Braden Lead, who is the top pitching prospect, probably the top college prospect in our league. He's a junior. Penn State, Virginia Tech, Duke, teams like that are recruiting Braden Lead. And he was dominant in his one outing so far. Section 2, it's been LS and Ephrata the last couple of years. I think E-Town joins that party this year. They got a ton coming back from a pretty good team. And Solanco is 2-1, but their wins are over Donegal, which is very good, and Penn Manor. Now, Penn Manor did not use the power arms in that game, and Solanco beat him 12-2. But Solanco is a kid named Braden Herr, who is a good pitcher and a good position player. One of those guys, one of the best players in the league. Section 3, Central's going to be very good. They've got a lot of good position players and a lot of by committee sort of pitching. Jason Thompson was telling me the other night that especially because we might be playing more games than anybody else because we have this artificial turf field, he might be using a lot of pitchers 2-3 times a week going forward. And again, I think Donegal is going to contend there. Section 4, we think of Section 4 in baseball as Lancaster Catholic and everybody else. Yes. They've won 8 straight section titles. Right. But last year, 4 of those teams made districts. And I think it's going to be that way this year. I don't think Catholic is dominant. I think Northern Lebanon will contend. I think Peckway might contend. And Anvil Cleona is off to a pretty impressive 4-0 start for a smaller school. They have a kid, a sophomore, named Zach Frentz, who's hitting .455 and has 8 stolen bases in 4 games. They have another kid, Colton Schaefer, Jr., .636 with a .733 on base and some power. So they've been impressive so far. And again, 4 of those teams made districts last year. I think that's an interesting race.
It's the first week of April and it's raining every day, but that sounds like a deep league.
Yeah, I think it may not be. There's nothing like Warwick a couple years ago, and there may never again be anything like that. And Lancaster Catholic went to the state finals, etc. I don't think there's anything like that, but I think it's a deep league. I think there's a lot more solid teams in the league than that. All right, gang. Hopefully we'll have some more tangible stuff to tell you going forward, and hopefully it will stop raining. But tonight was supposed to be the big league opening night in my sports, and it's pouring out there, so we'll see. This has been the LL Spring Sports Roundtable, brought to you by Substitute Teacher Service. For Jason and for Jeff, I'm Mike, and we will see you again soon.